My name is Mario Creatura. I'm a councillor in Croydon. I am the Conservative parliamentary candidate for Croydon Central for the next election, and my current day job is I'm one of the special advisors to the Prime Minister. So the main responsibilities of my role when I'm looking after the Prime Minister is making sure that all of her social media channels have got good content on, working with different government departments and different civil servants to make sure that we're really tackling her online presence well. As a parliamentary candidate, what I'm looking at is trying to talk to people, listen to people about their concerns, so that when I'm out campaigning and hopefully getting elected in the next election, I'm actually representing them in the best possible way to make their lives better. And it's the same sort of thing as a councillor. A councillor is a sort of mini MP. It's in a smaller area of Croydon Council, about 15,000 residents, and it's exactly the same sorts of things. All of the glamorous things like bins, rubbish, lights, recycling, planning applications, the sort of stuff that actually makes a difference to everyone's lives. That's what I do as a councillor. Okay, so the key skills for anyone, I think, working in politics or trying to be a representative of people is number one, is to listen. Number two is to have the sort of the core of communications, those sort of basic abilities to summarise quite complicated subjects into everyday language. So those are the two biggest skills, I think, for anyone who wants to get involved in a political career. Good news about a career in politics, if you're interested in that kind of area, is that there's absolutely no single way that is defined or recognised that you need to go into it. There are MPs and councillors who have never been to university. There are MPs and councillors who have been involved in business, or who have been stay-at-home mums, or who have been nurses and doctors and dentists, and people who work in politics as researchers, as academics, really interested in the intricacies of how it works. And how policy works, how parliament works, and lawyers, all the way through to people who just want to get involved, get muck in and try to make their communities better. So I didn't come from what I thought was a natural political background. I had no idea that I would ever be interested in politics. But my parents worked hard and they taught me the value of hard work and about caring for your community. And I was lucky enough to be the first person in my family to go to university, where I met so many people and had so many experiences that set me up. I've got so many friends and so many different experiences that I've used to sort of ready myself for a world of work. And if you work hard and you do it the right way and you don't give up, then nothing should hold you back from anything, whether it's politics or any other career. One of the best ways, I think, of getting involved in local politics, once you've realised this is something you're quite interested in, is to get involved in your local community. There are political parties and resident associations and community groups and volunteering organisations that if you get that experience, you get it on your CV, you're able to demonstrate to future employers, whether it's applying to become an MP or a councillor, or work for an MP, or work for some kind of a think tank or an organisation that helps to advise MPs. If you're able to demonstrate that your interests lie in people, and you can do that in a variety of ways, then they'll look at your CV with a keen interest, not least if you start thinking about how you can write for blogs or look at websites that can help you to network and get those skills that you need to sort of sharpen them up, so that you can then demonstrate how to a potential future employer in a political environment you're actually going to be able to represent their interests and the needs of people on behalf of an organisation. When I graduated and moved back to Croydon, I genuinely was incredibly bored, had nothing really to do, so I looked up some of the local political parties and thought I was interested in student politics, I was interested in that kind of thing, so why don't I try and do it for the grown-ups a little bit? So I joined a political party, I got the Wikipedia pages up, and I joined the party that felt more like me. I started getting involved, knocking on doors, delivering leaflets, going to meetings, basically speaking out about things I really cared about. And then over a number of years, I earned status, and people started saying that this guy's a hard worker, he puts the effort in, at the same time having a day job, working in marketing. They thought that, you know, we can trust him with some big projects, and they started giving me more and more important responsibilities. And as that experience grew, I was able to start thinking, okay, well maybe I might run for election one day. And then I ran for election in 2010 for a local council election. I lost that election, but the lessons I learned meant that in 2014 I won. And I've been a councillor since 2014. I'm now Chief Whip on Croydon Council for the Conservative group, which means that I have to look after the HR and administration of almost 30 councillors. And at the same time, I started working in Parliament. And I got a job with the Croydon Central MP, a guy called Gavin Barwell, and I got to understand the legislative process, how Parliament works, how laws are made, the diversity of the people that live in my local area, and what issues they really care about, and how to help them. And I realised for me that was the thing that I really cared about, and that's ultimately what led me to eventually decide to give it a go myself, and why I'm now a parliamentary candidate. So in terms of university or apprenticeships, either, doesn't matter. For someone who wants to get involved in politics, whether it's for a researcher for a think tank or a political journalist, or someone who wants to actually become an elected representative, all that matters is that you work hard. There are a wide variety of different salary bandings in politics. It would be silly of me to try and band them in a certain way. But I think that the most important thing to realise is that if you're a brand spanking new graduate or someone who's never entered politics before, is to be humble a bit and to think about what your skills are relative to the requirements of the job. Most people think that they can talk for England, or most people think that they'll be able to just walk into a job without much experience. Quite a lot of the jobs involved in politics or in any line of work really sort of rely on you demonstrating, at least on your first couple of rungs on the ladder, of you demonstrating your ability to adapt and learn and work hard in a variety of different circumstances. So I would say that sort of a graduate entry-level political position, you're looking at probably no more than 25 grand a year, depending on the role and institution, and then you can quickly go up the chain depending on how hard you work and how much you take a grasp of the opportunities that are there for you. But the sky's the limit with politics, but probably you're not going to earn as much as being a high-flying lawyer in the city. So I would try and I would urge caution for anyone who thinks that politics is where the big bucks are, because it might not be true. In terms of becoming an MP, most MPs, from my understanding, that's how they start. They start from being a grassroots person who really cares about the local area, and then as they get the bug, as they get the experience, and as they realise that actually they're quite good at this sort of thing, they want to take it a little bit further. And so slowly they work their way up the various party ladders, they work up in the various local authority areas. Some might become a local councillor, and to do that obviously you need to work locally, voluntarily for a party. Then you, much like any other job, you fill in an application form, you get an interview, and then ultimately you have your name on a ballot paper, and if enough residents vote for you, then you win your council seat. It's exactly the same as an MP. Most people start as an activist. Some people start as a councillor. Some MPs, some people who become MPs, just start straight by applying to be an MP. So you could just write to your party and say, I want to be a member of Parliament, how do I do that? All the details are online. Fill in an application form, you get some quite extensive interviewing to make sure that you're the good kind of candidate, someone who they want to stick on a poster with a big billboard, and as long as you get through those processes, you get selected by local members, then you'll become a candidate, and then you have to win the election. And once that happens, you can then see how far your career takes you, and you could be Prime Minister one day, so anything is possible. So if you're a young person, you're really interested in getting involved in politics, there are probably two big routes in. The first route is, as I've said already, is make sure you get involved in a local party or organisation. For some people it's quite difficult picking what party they align to. I'd say if your family are always Labour, or your family are always Conservative, or Green, or UKIP, don't necessarily follow that. Think about what you think, what your ideals are, what your values are. And then once you've worked out what you really believe in, maybe it's like me, go up a Wikipedia page and have a read of all of them. Then you join, you get involved, and you start moving through that sort of route in. And that's a very easy way to get a lot of experience very quickly, a lot of responsibility, which not only looks good on the CV, but also if you're particularly interested in politics, actually gives you a level of credibility that you're a hard worker. So if you're particularly interested in working in government, whether it's in Downing Street or another government department, or maybe in the civil service, there are a huge range of opportunities. So I'm lucky enough to work in Downing Street, which has about 250 employees. It's quite a big organisation that is mainly civil servants. And these are phenomenally talented people who come from a wide variety of backgrounds. Some are quite far into their career, some are very new, in their sort of early 20s. You can enter and apply for the civil service fast stream or for any other civil service post. And then once you're in, once you've gone through the application process like a normal job, you could get a job in any government department. So from my point of view, the best thing about working in politics is the people. It doesn't matter whether I'm helping someone with a pothole as a councillor, whether I'm knocking on doors talking about items of national importance that someone thinks about as a parliamentary candidate, or whether I'm working in number 10 trying to work out a way to communicate really important things to people. The best thing about my job is that I get to work with incredible people and talk about incredibly important matters that impact so many people across the country, my town and my ward on the council all day, every day. And I feel very, very lucky that is what my profession is. So in terms of things you can read, there are obviously newspapers and blogs and articles. There are too many to mention. The one thing that I'll say about a career in politics is that it's very easy to get tunnel vision. And if you follow people on social media that you like, or that say the same things that you say, or think the same things that you think, then you can get a very narrow view of the world. Always give the opposition and the alternative viewpoint a fair hearing, because you never know that they actually might come up with some good ideas that ultimately will help more people, which is what politics is all about. So I'm very conscious that if ever I'm looking at a CV, that I try to look past the initial PR and the fluff that's on the CV. What's important to me is something that talks about your character and about what you could bring to the role. Not just, I got 5 A stars to see at GCSE, that's great, it's good, but a lot of people will have that. What sets you apart from the crowd are the other things that you care about, the other things that you do. So it doesn't matter whether you're the secretary of your local Little League football club, or whether you're involved litter picking every other week, or if it's something to do with a church. It doesn't matter what you do that makes you demonstrate your ability as a leader, as someone who can do things other than I turned up to work consecutively for 9 to 5 for 2 years, right? That's all right. That's not an achievement. That's a biographical fact, right? I want to know, what is it that if you were in front of me, if I gave you half an hour of my time to sit in front of me for an interview, am I going to enjoy myself? Am I going to find out something about you, something you've achieved in one of those jobs that actually makes me want to have a conversation with you and maybe employ you? So it's not just, I did this thing as a factual biographical bit on your CV. It's about a key thing you did. What did you achieve in that job? Can you demonstrate with data ideally? Can you demonstrate with images or with a portfolio, something that you've done that has actually shown me that in that job you actually made a real difference? And I think if you can do that. It doesn't have to be in a major way. It could genuinely be volunteering in the local community centre. It doesn't have to be, I was, a chair of a Fortune 500 company. It can be something quite local and niche and small and personal to you that reveals your character. If you can do that in a CV, then I'll be far more interested to read it than just having lots of biographical data.